1865 to 1876. Ellie.
I wish ENCORE was around when I was in high school. It would have given me great pleasure to sit in a classroom and not worry. Is there going to be a test? Do I have to write an essay? Oh my God, when are exams? So we are all blessed with coming to courses where we can just sit and enjoy whoever the instructor is or the other participants in the course. My name is Ellie Gardner Kluge. I'm a retired social studies teacher from Arlington County. And I'm going to hopefully instruct you in new ways of interpreting Reconstruction in post-Civil War America. When I first moved to Arlington, I came from the north, I was amazed by the feeling of being in a southern state and, well, in a southern little town, which it was, of course, in the 60s. And the Civil War was still going on in the heads of many people. And, I mean, I just wasn't accustomed to that. But once I started proceeding in my graduate and PhD program, what was overlooked in so many studies of the Civil War was the period of Reconstruction. It was concentration of the war itself, of course with emphasis on Abraham Lincoln, and not much about what was going to happen when the war was over. And hopefully many thought that the North would win. And so in order to get a context for that, I feel it's important to present an overview of those years in America from 1619 until 1850. We will see by my pointing out certain events that by the time of the 1850s, slavery had become institutionalized in America. Now that meant it was going to be dominated by politics, and we know how well that goes. And it led to breaking up of political parties and an inability for the nation to compromise as it had done prior to 1850. I did stop at 1850 because many see the years before as indirect causes of the Civil War. But when you look at the 1850s, you begin to see pretty clearly that the handwriting was on the wall. It was just a matter of when it would happen. And it seemed as though there was no one who could stop it. Then we look at, of course, the end of the war, and we see a nation, as Bonnie, well, she's right there, had talked about, where the young soldiers, both North and South, were devastated if they weren't severely injured. We see that there was a death of Abraham Lincoln, and we see that states' rights comes back into play. And we see, of course, an impeachment program, sort of an odd word for me to use, but impeachment of Andrew Jackson, first time that had been done in our history. Remember, we weren't even 100 years old yet as a nation. And we need to look at, of course, you had the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments already passed. And you wonder then why do people not study the Reconstruction? But more importantly, did it work? If it did work, we're going to have to look and see if there are examples of its success. If it didn't work, then we need to ask ourselves, why did it not work? And I tend to run my classes with half of it devoted to lectures, but the other half, I have lots of references. They're not necessarily in the booklet. There's gobs of references. You cannot be in this modern world if you haven't Googled Reconstruction and see how many articles there are, some good, some not so good. So I like to have class participation, but also I have a very strict guidelines of what I'd like to present to people during the course of each class. And the class begins on April 1st, and it goes through March 6th. There are 5 sessions for an hour and a half, starting at noon to 1:30. I hope you join me.
Arlington history, we just can't seem to get enough of it. And so I hope you, if you haven't taken the class, will